Chief, the last couple of ones coming? Okay, I'm going to once again call the meeting to order, and we'll start with the roll call of Alderman.
Heisler.
Here.
Kinsella.
Here.
Holt.
Here.
Schmidt. Dorchowitz. Randall.
Bridgewitz is here.
Anthony.
Here.
Davidson.
Here.
Silsby.
Here.
Hayden.
He should be right.
Cyber.
Here.
White.
Here.
Galletti.
Here.
Musgrove.
Here.
Orland.
Here.
Schneider.
I know Alderman Hayden's here, so all aldermen are present. Roll call of department heads.
Police Chief Bill Collette.
Here.
Fire Chief Scott Langston.
Here.
City Attorney Garrett Horner.
Here.
Ken Vaughn.
Here.
Royce Carlisle.
Here.
Jamie Mayford. Tim Gregwitz. Jim Schneider.
Here.
Leander Spearman.
Here.
Emily Foltz. Chuck Schaefer. Bob Sabo.
Here.
And Debbie Mello.
Emily Foltz is on vacation today, and Chuck Schaefer had a water pipe break while I don't call me next Tuesday.
I have a question about the shelter. He hasn't been at city council since June 3rd, and he hasn't been at Streets and Grades since May 20th.
Why don't you call me tomorrow, we'll talk, he's got excuses and we can explain, but tonight he had a water pipe break in his house, he has a
Well, I
mess.
think the public has the right to know.
Well, I think he had the right to take vacation on some of the weekends. We'll
For
talk,
a quarter of the years.
why don't you call me and we'll go over the excuses, okay, the reasons why I excused him. It's never been a secret. Okay.
Just want to note I'm present.
I noted it already. I noted you were here.
I'm not late, I was at another meeting.
I got you. We understand that. Okay, at this time, ladies and gentlemen, if you would please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have no public hearing this evening. At this time, I will open public participation. I would ask that you keep your comments to 2 to 3 minutes max. Wait till I recognize you, come forward, give your name and address, and also make sure that we continue to exercise good civility. I need to, real quickly, before I recognize the first person who might be interested, to remind you of our disaster procedures. If for any reason we did have to evacuate this room, if we had to evacuate for fire, if there was a concern that arose, we would go out orderly to the outside exits and go across the street carefully to in front of the courthouse, and please assemble at the big courthouse sign right out front. This would give us a chance to try to verify that everybody was properly getting out of the building. If we had storm weather, severe weather of any kind, and we had to go to the basement, go out these doors, follow the signs right across the main corridor out here, the gathering area, the lobby. There's some stairs, go down to the left to the basement. There's signs posted. Please do that also in an orderly manner if we had to exit ever for a storm. So I just wanted to point that out to you. At this time, I will open public participation. Does anyone this evening like to speak? I will start with the young lady in green.
I'm not following the 6-foot guy. I wanted to let the council know
Could you give your name first,
of
please?
Don Amano, 1407 West State Street.
Thank you.
I wanted to let the council know that from our 2 fundraisers at the Oktoberfest, our cake raffle and donations that we got, and our 7K walk, we are now at $1,236 in the Joseph Goss fund over in Basic Initiative. I also want to let you know that we are getting 2 red bud trees that we will be planting with Franklin School students November 1st. We are on a roll, ladies and gentlemen, and we are not stopping. My son will be here, but he has a math test at the college that he needs to study for. And for those people who are not familiar with Joseph Goss Park, we're coming to the council tonight to change the name from Goss Park to Joseph Goss Park. This is the wish of the family, and we are behind it 100%. And we are also on Facebook under Goss Park, so please come visit and see everything that we've done over on 10th and C. Thank you.
Thanks, Don, to your whole group that, you know, the city council a number of years ago wanted to purchase that property and clean it up, and the neighbors have now really taken, the neighborhood association's really taken a lot of extra effort and the parks department, and we appreciate it. It's working good. I know I talked to several of the neighbors myself, and they're very happy. Who's next this evening who would like to speak? Yes, sir.
Michael Hagberg, 701 Centerville. Few items. First, on the audit that's being approved and then set for next year, I would strongly recommend that the city consider getting a new set of eyes to look at it. We've had the same people looking at it over and over again. There have been a couple articles in the paper about what happens to cities when you have the same auditors looking at the same figures every year. And we miss very, very big steps going on. Next is the library. There's a contract for the architect for $6,500. Is there any estimate as to the additional cost of the work that's going to be done once the architect gets paid the $6,500? And last is the industrial park with contract with TWM. It's in TIF 21. There's no mention about where the funding for the $107,000 contract is coming from. TIF 21 currently has only $7,672 in it. But we'll assume that it's going to be TIF 3. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Leonard, 318 South 29th Street, Belleville. I got a number of things here, I'll just read them off. The grocery store by the old bowling alley, it's not in a good location, but if these people want to spend their own money, let them build it wherever they want, but they want city money. And the city should have something to say about the location of this grocery store. I think they need more down where the fairgrounds in that area. The marathon is still sitting there. The hole on East Main Street is still there. Calhoun Park is literally a swamp. The furniture building on east next to 157 down there below the hill, that's the airport to nowhere. Tim Cantrell's been running that thing for over 10 years. Any CEO or whatever, any company that showed a loss for 10 years in a row, it's been long gone. I don't know, he must have something on somebody out there.
Mr. Leonard, I think you'd be best served to take those comments over to the county board when they meet.
Well, they don't even have a meeting, it's lasts about 5 minutes and then it's all gone.
Well, I mean, there's nothing this body can do about
Okay.
taking
I got
action
a
on
few
that.
other things here though. Lindenwood acts like they own Belleville. And Lindenwood, as far as I can tell from following the city hall, the courthouse, Lindenwood doesn't pay any property tax on all those houses they bought from private citizens. And it seems to me they're not helping Belleville financially. They act like Belleville should be grateful. Some smart people from Missouri came and showed Belleville how to run a school. Those single-family houses, they got a whole backyard, it's nothing more than a gravel parking lot, and it looks like a rundown car lot back there. They got the cars parked helter skelter. The previous houses had real nice backyards and gardens. All this is a gravel parking lot. Now, is it legal to turn your backyard into an entire parking lot by just nabbing it over?
Sir, they've been working with city staff on all their improvements, and unless you tell me specifically, I'd say call and talk to the Economic Development Office, and they'll investigate your specific concern.
Well, I called the courthouse today, and I said, "Did you tell me who lives at 2600 West Main?" And they said, that's Belleville State Police.
They're a little bit before that, so
I
there's
know,
less
but
we...
the lady at the courthouse says, and then I said, what about 2700 West Main? And she said, some oil company owns that. I said, as far as I know, there's not an oil company within 5 miles of that. And there's Lindenwood houses sitting on there. They got signs on the front of the house saying it's Lindenwood property. They're telling you at the courthouse an oil company owns that.
Well, the oil company does own the old Castelli oil lot, but that's a little further down. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Next ma'am, yes ma'am.
Rose Wilson, 322 West High Street, Belleville. I'm here this evening because I have an issue with one of our elected officials. I took part, and I am part of the Bicentennial Park Association, which has meetings at St. Mary's, and I am very upset over the conduct of one of our elected officials. Our alderman at large was invited to that meeting. By the end of the dialogue, she was actually uninvited from that meeting because of the conduct and the conversation that took place. The people of that district are very much in favor of their park. They like that park, and they wanted to have dialogue because they were tired of the negative spin and the negative poster boards all the time. While Alderman Schneider agreed to come,
Point of order.
she had demands. The demands were that every news station,
There's no personal attacks. I'm listening to this.
these are just the facts, and I listened to.
We gotta keep it civil, and we've gotta keep it to the point here.
I will let her talk, because she's talking,
Okay.
no, she's talking about me.
You're not called on yet, okay? This is public participation. You're a member of the city council. You will get a turn, I guarantee you. Now, just get to the point and don't.
Okay, the
keep it
point
simple.
is that the people were told that the only way she will come if the neighborhood association asked every news media channel and BND to come. They did not want to do that. The wording in the email are not very nice. It's pretty insulting to the constituents. It led into more of that, and the people are tired of this kind of representation.
Rose, your
And
point's well taken. I think what Mr. Hoyer, our city attorney, has said, if you would submit your,
I do.
to the city attorney, he will look at it. And I think that's the best way, as you know,
It's
we're,
very poor conduct of the city official, and it's insulting.
I think your concerns are duly noted, and I think we keep it so. We can make a copy, you bring it to us. Well, we'll give them copies, but we'll get copies, if not tonight, tomorrow. Okay, is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Joyce Schreiber, 27 South 10th Street. Just a couple of things. In the minutes that will be approved tonight, I see that the grass cutting is noted as being a contract from April of 2014 to April of 2015, and I believe it was actually voted that it would end in December of 2014. So I'm hoping that someone will motion.
I didn't catch that, but we'll note that. That is correct, right, Mr. Sable?
Yeah, that was
It should end December 31st, 2014.
correct.
Will you make that note when we go to the minutes? We want to point that out. That's good.
Thank you. And then also I noticed that it's in the agenda tonight about the speed limit on West Main Street from 17th to 30th. It's already 25 miles per hour all the way up to 28th Street. So I was confused by why they would be talking about as far back as 17th where it already is
They're
25 miles
noting
per
it,
hour.
well, we're trying to bring attention to it as well, I believe the traffic committee, but they're going to continue it out to 30th Street, as that's what the proposal is, right? We're Lindenwood, and I'll explain when we get to the ordinance portion of the meeting, some of those other changes. Assistant Chief Sparger has been working with Lindenwood about some of the new signage. It's just an effort to try to make it safer for the students' presence.
Right. At that point, once you're at the lights at North 28th Street, if you're heading westbound, it's 4 lanes of traffic to each direction. I don't see that there's a need to reduce the speed to 25 miles per hour.
It's trying to get
Once you
people to
reach that
slow
point.
down because what the intent was, it is to try to start about 30th Street to get people to start to slow down so that they're prepared for that school area because they're coming through there and a pretty good clip.
Right. Well, I don't think anyone goes 25 anyway the rest of the way all the way to the square. But
Well, I think if the
yeah.
police are out there, they're going to be reminded to go 25,
Right.
they're going to be getting some tickets.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, is there any,
Just one other just nitpick real quick. On the treasury report, one of the bank accounts that lists is West Point. I believe that should be changed to Commerce Bank.
okay, we'll note that as well.
Thank you.
That's a typo. Okay, anybody else from the public? I will close public participation and Council, do you want to have this now or do you want to wait a minute under miscellaneous and new business? Have Mr. Snyder's comments now. It's really, what? Okay, Alderman Schneider?
Yes, what she's talking about on my poster board, I didn't know that pictures lie. Everything I did was pictures of the truth. And if the truth hurts, so be it. And the reason I asked, and it wasn't snotty, he has the thing, the emails, I have them too. I said I would come, but I wasn't gonna be thrown into a lion's den with all those people over there waiting for me. I wanted some proof of what went on. That is why I asked the B&D and any of the news stations that they wanted to come. This is a public park. It went way over the budget. It's a swamp, and it always will be. And the pictures show it with all the dump stuff. That isn't made up pictures. And if the pictures hurt, so be it. They're the truth. Words is what can be turned around. Pictures can't. And it's a lot of city employees that live over there also. And it was the whole city money that built that park. So they should have a right to say what goes on. And if they don't like it, so be it.
Okay, duly noted. We're going to move on now. At this time, I'd ask under appointments, I'd ask for a motion. And did we get it? Okay, good. I asked, but it's been a crazy day. I apologize, I was out of town for a day or two and just didn't get your packet. But this is the resume of my request to appoint Joe Nesbitt. The library board approved the recommendation. And I'd ask you at this time if there's a motion to approve Joe Nesbitt to the library board of trustees. Motion by Alderman Silsby, do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Seibert. Do I hear any discussion? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella. Holt. Schmidt. Rudowitz. Randall. Anthony. Davidson. Silsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orland. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, and Leander, remind me tomorrow we'll get a letter to Mr. Nesbitt thanking him for agreeing to serve and confirming his appointment. We have the regular city council meeting minutes held October 7, 2013. What's your pleasure?
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to receive and file a regular city council meeting October 7th, 2013 with the noted changes. So moved, Your Honor.
We have a motion by Alderman Heisler. Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman White.
Is there a page number for those changes?
It's late on.
You got the number which one?
Yeah, I've got it noted on. Page 6.
Okay, everybody understand the motion to approve the minutes from of the October 7th meeting, noting the changes that were pointed out by Mrs. Schreiber. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Claims, payroll, and disbursements, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to pay the claims, payroll, disbursements. So moved, Your Honor.
Motion by Alderman Heister, do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Schmidt, do I hear discussion? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt. Schmidt. Rudowitz.
Aye.
Randall. Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson. Sillsby. Hayden. Cybert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orland. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. This time I'd ask for a motion, if we could, there's no objection, to approve the Treasurer's Report, City of Belleville Fund and Statement of Cash and Investments for September 2013, and the Housing Report of Cash Receipts to date, fiscal year 2013 to 14. I'd ask for a motion to approve and to file for audit. Motion by Cybert, second by Schmidt. Any discussion? All in favor of approving and filing those two motions signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next page. Oral reports, Alderman Arlett.
Mayor, on behalf of the Traffic Committee, we have three motions. First motion is to create a three-way stop at Terry Lane and Stevens Street. Let's go over all of them.
Anybody have objection if we read them together?
We can ask questions.
I'm sorry? Well, let's just do it one at a time. Do we have a motion? Do I hear a second? Number one. Second by, who is the second? Oh, Hayden. Motion by Arlen, second by Hayden, to create a three-way stop sign at Terry Lane and Stevens Street, and have the proper ordinance drawn. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor of that motion and have the proper ordinance drawn, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next one.
The next one is to create a no parking on North Church Street on both sides from Kerchief Place to Douglas Avenue. So moved, Your Honor.
We have a motion by Alderman Arlen. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Hayden.
Yes.
Discussion.
I just have a question. I thought it would only be in the curve part. They're going all the way up to Douglas Avenue. Is this what was decided?
That's what's in the writings, and
We left it to staff to look at the curves. My understanding and move forward that motion.
Okay, so it is my understanding there was not a petition circulated in this neighborhood, is that correct?
Petition for what?
I thought that was what the traffic committee was doing now, that when they were changing something, the petition had to go throughout the neighborhood and there was a place to mark forward or negative.
petitions sometimes come, but they don't have to. There's not a mandate that says it has to have a petition.
Your Honor,
This came forward for what reason? Can I ask the committee?
Your Honor, that was brought before the traffic commission. We discussed it, the chairman discussed it, that there's not necessarily homes on that curve. In particular, the biggest thing that the traffic commission discussed was the fact that the curve on both sides of the street was a dangerous situation of traffic, and we felt it needed immediate attention. If we felt that there was less of a concern, we would have sent it back to the residents with those forms, as we have done with some other cases that have been brought before the committee.
Yeah, well, we looked at the thing, and it's obviously a very dangerous situation. I parked there and watched it for quite some time on several occasions.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I do not disagree about the curb. What I'm objecting to, and what the residents are objecting to, is the inability to park in front of their own homes on the portion that is not a curb. Apparently what has happened is Lindenwood has some students who are living in a house right by this curb, who are parking wherever they feel like it, because that's how it goes. That is a problem we would like to address, not forbidding residents to park in front of their own homes as they always have. I think the committee has gone too far on this.
Did you come to the committee meeting, Alderman? This is your ward, is that right? No, this is not your ward. Or this is your ward?
This is my ward, this is my neighborhood.
Okay,
I
so I mean,
drove
were you
over
at,
to 8 o'clock in the morning, I was not aware this was on the committee, but I have talked to them this morning, not happy with this. So I would just ask the committee to reconsider the boundaries, that to cover the curb, but not the blocks
area should we like?
The curb. I want to say it's like a 500 block.
How many feet do we? I guess we could look.
Everybody there have driveways?
No,
Isn't there parking on that?
no. I'm the only one that does have driveways. We don't. And there's not alley behind all of that.
Okay, for the sake of time, would you be willing to send this back and just visit a little closer as far as the distance, and then come back with your final, I don't care if it's the same thing or not, but maybe for the sake of time, I would suggest, Alderman Holt, that you come to the next traffic committee meeting with those people who have the concern, because there was no outcry of public at these meetings so far, and I don't know if they were aware or not, totally.
But that's the issue.
Okay, but for the sake of safety, they're trying to make a decision, so is someone willing to table this to the next
I
meeting?
am.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Schneider. Is there a second to table it to the next, to send it back to traffic? And who's that second from, Alderman Holt? Okay. All in favor of tabling it just for, yes, sir?
The two aldermen from this board, this is what you guys would want? You want us to table this and look at it again?
Well, I would like to do what our constituents want. It seems like we have one in the audience that is against closing off. There are a lot of older homes where I don't have a driveway. And, you know, we have the street parking. If you lose that, I mean, that can be really a pain if you can't park in front of your own house.
I think the council should pay attention to what the aldermen in that board say. If you guys are suggesting that we should take a look at
Were
it.
you guys not aware that this was,
No,
okay, that can happen sometimes.
but I
So-
won't be at the next traffic meeting.
So
I
we
was
have,
told that there was driveways. That's what I was-
okay, so we have a motion and a second to send it back to traffic to kind of revisit at least the total,
Right.
the total,
The
the
length
length of
of
it,
Yes.
okay?
The curb does.
And I would suggest if there's neighbors who have some real concerns, that they should come to that traffic committee and try to get this all hashed out, figured out before we come here.
Okay, we'll do that this time, but how? I thought that was the point of the committee adopting.
Okay, it's not a perfect science, usually that's the way it happens, but this time, it sounds like they acted on a safety issue, which I think is part of their job, and they're bringing it to council. Obviously, right now, as the two ward aldermen, you have some concerns, there's apparently a few people here. I don't think that it's been going on this way for a long time. I think we certainly can send it back to committee, hopefully you folks show up, spread the word to your constituents, and let's try to see if we can't come to a happy medium for both safety and to satisfy the residents, see if we can do both. So we have a motion, and we have a second to table. I'm sorry, Alderman Arlett, Chairman.
Yeah, I just want to say, at this meeting, we did not hear from anyone telling us that we were told that this was a dangerous situation, so we voted to do it. No one came and said, stop here, and I don't remember, unless I was asleep at the 8 o'clock meeting, I don't remember anybody talking to me about driveways at that time. So
All right,
that
well-
was the situation.
Do you know what the date of your next meeting is?
Second Tuesday of the month, 8 a.m. Was it?
12 November 8 a.m.
12 November, day after Veterans Day. Okay, so, we have a motion and a second to table, that's correct?
Send it back to.
Send it back to committee for this next month review, to kind of tweak this thing possibly. All in favor of tabling it to the next, sending it back to traffic committee, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, thank you. Alderman Arlett, proceed.
The motion to 25 mile per hour speed limit on West Main Street from 17th Street to 30th Street for eastbound and westbound traffic. So moved.
Second. We have a motion by Alderman Arlett, second by Alderman Hayden. I just want to say for beginners, we've been working with Lindenwood for some time. I've met with them, been out there. It went to traffic. At first, they were going to try to get a committee together. Assistant Chief Sparger worked with the Dean of Lindenwood and came back with some proposals to the traffic committee. We didn't put on here, we already took care of a lot of signage. It was really a no-brainer. We took old signs and improved them with some new, brighter IDOT, bright green, arrows pointing down to the crosswalks. The intent is to make it safer for the students. This is a wonderful problem we have, having this hustle and bustle of all these students out there. I think it's fabulous. Maybe that's just my opinion, but I think others do join me. However, they came back, and Jim and I did take a drive out there after he came to his original conversation with Dr. Wingo, that while the school there in front is 25, it doesn't start 25 when you're coming from the west until right there at Union School. His recommendation, and I think he's talked to the traffic patrolman Rust and a few others, that they agreed that starting that 25 back a little further at 30th Street would start to send the message that you just can't slam on the brakes right there and it's all of a sudden 25. We know that the police have been out there. They've been issuing warnings and tickets. We've had the speed monitor. We've increased signage. We did have a student get bumped a couple weeks ago in the crosswalk. I will tell you right now, I'm sending out a memo tomorrow to remind all city employees that they better be going 25 or less going through that zone, because there's a lot of kids. Now, we've all been that age before, and are they all going to the crosswalk and are they all using perfect judgment? I wouldn't want to bet on it. But we need to be alert, and we need to be aware that this congestion is welcomed, but we need to try to do something. So that's the purpose of reducing this down, that 25, a little widening it. That's the whole purpose, of trying for safety. Now, do we have a motion yet? We have a motion by, and who's the second? Okay, Alderman Hayden.
A couple other points, just to answer the public's question, Your Honor. It was discussed as it relates to the westbound traffic as we're moving out, of that zone, and based on the police staff's input as well as engineering, it gets too complicated to have one speed limit, 25 going east, 30 going west. We already knew the 17th Street area was 25, but we figured if we made a new ordinance that specified those two zones and said it supersedes all previous, that we had everything covered. So the other question I was going to ask is it possible to, I know we got to get the ordinance drawn, but have you thought about possibly doing an executive order to start getting
Well,
signs
I
up?
have every intention to do an executive order tomorrow.
Okay.
Well, in fact, actually, to be honest with you, did the 25 mile an hour already go up at 30th Street? I did an executive.
No, I think they're waiting.
Okay, it'll go up tomorrow. They did all the other signs but that, and I will write that tomorrow.
Great.
So we will waive that 10-day period of an ordinance going into effect by executive order, just so we can start to take action on this important safety thing. Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. Hopefully now we have an understanding. All in favor to approve item number 3 under A with the traffic committee and have the proper ordinance drawn, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Alderman Seibert.
Yes, sir. I motion to add Kathy Ann to the asphalt patch program, come out of tip 3.
We have second by Alderman Kinsella. Okay, we have a motion and a second on the first item. Alderman Schneider.
Yes, with the stipulations of, they were adding, to contact the water company to make sure that, see if they were gonna pay half.
I don't think half was the comment. I think the comment what I understood there was we were gonna, their portion of what they would have to pay to repave the road for where they dug up for the new water line.
But we
And
need to add that.
And we're gonna, that can be, is that accepted, Mr. Seibert? Duly note that we will be asking the water company tomorrow to pay their share of the proper pavement of that road after they just put the water in, 2 fire hydrants in. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I don't understand when we discussed this in committee, there were 2 streets, and I know they were a little bit different.
Well, the other one is already in the budget.
Okay, but it came from committee as one.
I
don't understand the splitting it between meetings.
It came from committee, just to get the end. No, it's already,
No, sir, we voted on that as one.
I don't know how you read it up.
The other one was already on the program.
The other one's already in the budget, right, Tim? I know that's being compared to it, and I think what's happening is the contractor is not ready to go to Mills yet. It's going to be put off a little bit. I think that was the discussion, because the water company has yet to replace that line. So they can't put the new street in and then turn around and dig it up again. So it's in the budget. We got to, it's gonna be done before April 30th. But this Kathy Ann was an addition with the water, new water main and all the poor condition of the street that was brought to our attention. So that's what's in front of you tonight to add that. Okay?
You didn't mean April 30th.
What's that?
You didn't mean April 30th.
No, Mills is gonna be done, but we don't know the exact date yet. If the water company hypothetically couldn't get in there and get it done, we'd have to wait till the asphalt plants open back up in the spring. Right, Tim?
The contract goes until April 30th.
The contract that we have with Keeley goes till April 30th, okay? All right, we have a motion and a second to approve this for this asphalt patch to add Kathy Ann to it on a tip 3, roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Rudowitz.
Aye.
Randall. Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Sillsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
White. Galletti. Musgrove.
Aye.
Orland. Schneider.
Motion carries. Alderman
And
Seibert.
a motion to approve one new street light at 40547 Forest Avenue on the existing pole in the amount of $450. So moved, Your Honor.
We have a motion by Alderman Seibert. Do I hear a second?
I do.
Second by Alderman Schneider. Discussion. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt. Rudowitz.
Aye.
Randall. Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Sillsby. Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
White. Galletti.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orland. Schneider.
Motion carries. Alderman Seibert, number 3.
Item 3 was postponed, Your Honor.
Okay, we have a motion to table to the next meeting. Motion by Alderman Seibert, second by Alderman Hayden to table to this meeting. All in favor of tabling that item number 3 under streets and grades signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Alderman Heisler.
Yes, Your Honor. On the behalf of the Master Sewer Committee, I'd like to make a motion to reduce tap-on fee for non-resident at 504 Dutch Hollow Road from 3 times the tap fee to the same fee as resident, which is $2,950. So moved, Your Honor.
We have a motion by Alderman Heisler. Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Randall. Do I hear discussion?
Your Honor, I'd like to know why they're doing this when we charge other people that the regular rate, and now they're gonna pay the same as us. Why are we doing that?
We looked at it as a case-by-case situation.
I understand the case by case. And I was not aware of this until I asked some questions of Royce today. He called me. I think most of the exceptions we've made have only been reduced down to 1.5 times. I don't know of any that were given the same as the Belleville citizens if you're a non-resident. Personally, I think we have to be real careful there. I think we have had several past practices of reducing it for hardships, etc., different reasons, case by case, to 1.5 times, but the ordinance says 3, correct?
Yes.
Is that correct, Royce? Okay. I have a little concern, and I don't know the person, I don't even know the exact address, didn't even look at that. I have a little concern about taking it all the way down to the same as a taxpayer from the city. In all other cases of the past adjustments, to my opinion, and my belief, has been 1.5 times. Royce, does that pretty well resonate with you?
That's what we've done in the recent past, yes.
Alderman Schneider.
Yes, we discussed this and the man was there. Another reason we kind of decided on this, when the city did some work out there, they hooked up some of the people, but he wasn't offered, the way I may be misunderstood it, but he wasn't offered to tap in at the time the city was out there doing some work, and this is one of the reasons we...
Royce, do you aware of that?
That sewer line was put in the 70s, Mayor, I wasn't around.
Oh, okay.
Geographically, where he was positioned wasn't in a... he was in
His
a very-
neighbors got it or something.
Well, they didn't get it, but just where he was resident.
Currently, his septic tank has failed,
Correct.
and the health department has said he has to hook on because we're close enough. Is that the facts?
Yeah, that runs around from this property.
And our past practice has been, when that's occurred, we've charged everyone else 1.5 times. Is that to your knowledge?
In
some down 11th Street that they weren't allowed to, that they couldn't annex to the city because they're not.
They weren't contiguous.
And it was reduced from the 3 times to 1.5 times.
And that would be the same case here. I would just, Garrett and I didn't get a chance to talk about this one, but I would just strongly suggest we stay consistent with the 1.5 times. Unless there's some particular hardship that, you know, I don't know about.
He did, the gentleman did have a hardship.
Very limited income.
He didn't have the money to pay the money, you know, I mean, we went over and over with it. And he just,
He was a very hard-working man all his life. He lived there since the 60s. And I think we were taking into consideration very limited pension.
Okay, Alderman White next.
I think you also covered catch-22 and dealing between the city and the county, the sewer line, the cesspool line that he had was bad for a while, repaired, it's working, and now, of course, the county policy is they won't allow him to reuse his system.
I understand that.
But they're forced into it. I think we considered it when we made the motion.
I just,
we
yes,
also
ma'am.
have a payment plan too.
Well, that's what I would recommend. I would recommend that that's my recommendation.
Instead of setting up a payment plan, this man came to us and told us it will be a very hardship for him. Now, he sat there, and that takes a lot for a person to sit there and say it would be very hard for them to make this. He's lived there for a very long time, he doesn't want to have, and this is what would happen because the county says he has to hook in. And this is telling a person their own property when his septic tank is working now, but yes, there is the county laws, the rules. But he came and asked us. It's not like, when we made the motion, we all agreed to it, to this fee.
I'm well aware, and I applaud your concern. And we're ready to go to the vote. I just, as the mayor and as the day-to-day chief executive officer, I just simply reiterate that the precedent in the past has been 1.5 times.
That was not presented to us that.
Well, I happened to not be at that meeting, and I think Royce was out of town. He was on vacation for his 35th wedding anniversary. We approved him to go. So, it's okay. I just want to make sure you're well aware.
How about this? Bring it back. I don't know what time frame this gentleman's got. Bring it back, represent it to him with 1.5, which would be about 4,500. Is that about right, Ken? 44, and we're setting him up on a payment program, correct? Is that what we're looking for?
Excuse me, Dean, do we not have to add $100 to that as well?
Well, the $29.50 includes the $100 inspection fee, so really you should be taking $28.50 times 1.5. Bear with me, I'll get that amount for you.
How's this gonna cost?
28.50. 1.5.
$4,275 plus $100 inspection fee would be $4,375.
Versus 3 times that much.
Which is 1.5 times the standard $28.50 fee plus $100 inspection.
Alderman Schneider, you're next. Let me just reiterate something to you. A few years ago, council, some of you were here, made a motion and passed it to make people who were non-residents 3 times. And part of that dialogue was, we knew we were facing an $88 million mandate from the EPA to not voluntarily fix our sewers, but to mandate fix our sewers. And it was decided at that time that non-citizens who are non-residents, not paying taxes to Belleville, needed to pay more than the citizens were for tap-in fees. And that's why this was done. This was not done in mean-spirited, but the citizens of Belleville are shouldering $88 million over a 15-year period, Royce, 20-year period, that we have to, by law, must do. So this isn't out of meanness. This is not this is not out of not trying to be good stewards to those who are struggling. But when you look at what we're all going to be paying the next few years, it's just keeping the checks and balances. That's the only reason I pointed out. So we have, yes, Alderman Schneider.
I know there's a motion on the floor and it's seconded. I hope we can take a roll call vote on that. We gave this man our word, what it was gonna be up in that committee meeting. And he was under the understanding that it would happen. So can we please take a roll call vote on the motion that's
We're
already
going to take
been
a
made
roll call,
for
I
this?
guarantee you. Okay, Alderman Glady, you have something?
I was gonna say,
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve this situation at giving him the same rate as the city residents. Alderman Davidson.
The committee is voting to approve. They brought it to this council with their approval.
Right. It's coming from Master Sewer. I don't know what the vote was, if it was unanimous or not, I don't know.
It was unanimous.
Okay, so I call for the vote. A yes vote means that we're going to grant this man, approval to have the same rate as a citizen of Belleville. A no vote would not, and then we'd have to retake this if it didn't pass. Roll call.
Heisler.
aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt. Rudowitz.
Aye.
Randall. Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Silsby.
No.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert. White.
Aye.
Galletti.
Aye.
Musgrove.
No.
Orland.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it. We move on. The next item is Alderman Silsby for finance.
And I'd like to make a motion to approve the low bid of $17,245 from MTI distributing to the Diamond Maintenance bunker rate. So moved.
Motion by Alderman Silsby, second by Alderman Schmidt. Any discussion on this first item? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt. Schmidt. Rudowitz.
Aye.
Randall. Anthony. Davidson. Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden. Seibert.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Galletti.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orland. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. Alderman Silsby.
Motion to approve the low bid of $10,522.35 from Winning Street for the Gingerbread 5K T-shirts. So moved.
We have motion by Alderman Silsby, second by Alderman Seibert. Discussion. Yes, sir.
I'm just curious, how many T-shirts do we have?
Debbie, you want to answer this?
I'm just curious.
I know it's gone up drastically.
$10,000 on a T-shirt.
Well, how many people in the run now? 1,500?
I don't even remember the code of it, but it was probably 1,500.
1,500. This is our
And
biggest
they're long
run,
sleeve.
correct, Jim?
And they're long sleeve.
And they're long sleeve, but it's our biggest run. It's become our biggest run. So I think the staff was really and truthfully, they got quotes. This thing has gone from very small race to becoming now a very big race. And I think they were surprised that they were over the 10,000, so that's why we had to bring it here to do this, to get
The
this
staff
approved.
knows next time.
Well, we know next time we'll bid it out. We know that. Alderman Schneider.
Is this the one where that, some of this money will be recouped when the fees come in from the paying?
All of it.
This is, well, we get it all paid back.
Oh, this is what I'm
And we
asking.
did have bids on this.
Yeah, we had bids, but this is, the entry fees pay for these shirts. But
We're just
since
up
this-
fronting it.
Exactly, exactly. And I think it's fair to say next year they know they will bid it out a little differently.
Normally, it goes to our board, but it went over 10,000, we didn't realize that.
And it was bid.
It was bid out, okay?
It goes to at least 8 different entities, only 2 sent bids back, and the reason for that is because most of the folks in Belleville know they can't beat that bid, because of what's asked for on the shirts that you've done.
Okay?
Do we have a motion?
We have a motion and we have a second. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt. Rudowitz.
Aye.
Randall. Anthony. Davidson. Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden. Seibert.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Galletti.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orland. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. Alderman Silsby.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the fiscal year 2013 audit. So moved.
Motion by Alderman Silsby, second by Alderman Schmidt. Any discussion? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Rudowitz.
Aye.
Randall. Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson. Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden. Seibert. White.
Aye.
Galletti.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orland. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. Alderman Silsby.
Motion to approve C.J. Schlosser and Company to perform the fiscal year 13-14 financial audit. So moved.
Second, Your Honor.
Motion by Alderman Silsby, second by Alderman Simon. Any discussion? Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to say, I did attend a seminar at Illinois Municipal League that did cover this topic and talked to several presenters and did, like here, get different opinions. One person said our city has used the same auditor for a number of years, and another person said, oh no, you should change every 5 years.
I too asked, and there was a variety of opinions.
Okay.
So, any other comments? Alderman Schmidt.
I would like to make a statement, Your Honor.
Okay.
And it's come to mind, I've had several questions over the weekend about this. But when I was running for alderman, I said that it might be a good idea to have a forensic audit. I just like this on the record, that that was based on information I was given by Mr. Hayden and other independent candidates and aldermen, that there was malfeasance just rampant within the city council, that the mayor was spending money hand over foot, and independent aldermen were not allowed to know what was going on. After I was elected, I found out that that was not true, and I've seen no evidence of any kind of malfeasance, and have no interest at this point that we would spend money on a forensic audit, which doesn't seem necessary. I just wanted to
Okay,
make
your
that
statement's
statement.
duly noted. Alderman Hayden.
Yes. I was going to comment on that, but Alderman Schmidt, just as much as she has seemed to have lost all the points of the platform she ran on. I, for one, never use the term malfeasance in any respect or regards, so I want that noted in the record, because that's a very serious charge, a very serious statement that is totally erroneous. A couple of questions, Your Honor. I wanted to ask, oh, by the way, I only got is there more to that? I only got the executive report. Can I get a full report?
They were all put in boxes a few weeks ago.
Yeah, they were put in your mailboxes several weeks ago.
This all came in the packet.
Well, then somebody's going through your box. You need to ask, because Jamie's got copies for
They were passed out over 2 weeks ago because of the size. I didn't want to mail them, so they were.
Yeah,
all
there's
in
2
boxes.
other booklets that go with it.
Correct.
There are 2 pretty good sized booklets go with it.
I don't-
See Jamie after the meeting.
That's fine. I just, things like, I wanted to ask the company in their auditing, the questions they raised as it relates to our bonding and our A1 bonding rate. Are they here tonight?
Mr. Tippinson. Tippinson.
Sir, where does the A1 bonding rate actually stand in relation to highest to lowest?
Where do you see the bond range referred to?
This was been presented with the discussion that was in the B and D as relates to staying with you guys and that it wouldn't affect our bonding rating. And I wanted to know, obviously you're aware of bonding procedures, correct?
Yes.
I want to know what your opinion was of our A1 bonding rating, and if there is higher ratings above A1.
Is that Moody's?
Either one of
We
us.
have an A+.
Jamie was set up.
Because there's different ratings.
We're with Standard & Poor's, they have an A+, not A1.
A plus.
A+ rating.
And, yeah, that's been talked about before.
Right.
And we're hoping now.
Are there categories above the A plus or?
Absolutely. It's a
Double
double.
A and triple A.
Then my question to, are
And is
there?
there double A plus and triple A plus?
Yes.
So A1 is, or A plus is not the best.
No, it's never been mentioned.
Have you seen through your auditing practice anything that we can do that could raise or help us raise that bonding?
Biggest thing that they look for is ability to repay the bonds. And right now, you have good fund balances in all your funds and sewer and general funds, so there's really, they're looking at it from areas of risk. In the smaller cities, they're always be a little more riskier than bigger cities, and they're going to be riskier than the counties or the states, so depending on the state grant. But no, there's nothing you can do in particular in your situation other than just maintain your good financial status.
And you guys have been doing this now for how many years?
Somewhere in the range of 10, probably.
just out of curiosity, would you know, have the fees stayed the same, or have they gone up over the 10 years?
They've gone up, but not at a rate of CPI by no means. I think over the 10-year period, it's maybe gone up by a couple of thousand over the span of it.
Okay, appreciate it. Yeah, no other comment, John. I look at, I certainly have the concern with some of the other aldermen. 10 years is a lot. When you're going with the same person, not saying anything's been, anything wrong other than you can get into the same situation as when you read your term paper 10 times in a row and you start, you can't proofread it right because you've seen it, you've done it, you keep looking at it, the same thing, and objective eyes can possibly see something different, and that's why I think it's valid to do an RFQ and change, certainly every 5 years, and no more than 10.
I think the committee agreed that we never said that we wouldn't do an RFQ in the future. I think Jamie had brought it forward that she would like to see another year so that, she can, there's been a request on her to try to make strides towards the GASB, et cetera. It's hard to do it all. And I think she made that very clear in the finance meeting that this would be helpful to her to keep continuity. But we certainly are willing to do an RFQ and see how this company falls in the future as we compare them. But I think what's being asked here is to extend this for 1 year, right, Jamie? And it's going to take us a while with everything going on. She's a finance director, being the only CPA in that office, and really a person with deep financial experience. So to stop the budget season's right around the corner. To stop her now and write an RFQ and everything else, her and I talked, we'd rather wait a year and give her a chance during some of her downtime, which I don't know when that is, but it's not during the budget season, to give her a chance to write the RFQ, et cetera. And we feel very confident in that. And Kevin and his staff have been very forthright with us about a lot of things that they recommend over the years that we've had to tweak or look at or pay attention to, and we've done it. So I think we're asking tonight for a 1-year extension, understanding that we would have no problem with going out for an RFQ after that. So let's go back here and refresh me. Do we have a motion and a second? We already have a motion by Alderman Silsby, second by Alderman Schmidt. Any further discussions for the auditor? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt. Rudowitz.
Aye.
Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Silsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orlett. Schneider.
Motion carries. See you next year.
Okay, motion to approve the library contract amendment with EWR in the amount of $6,500. So moved.
We have a motion by Alderman Silsby. Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Seibert. Do I hear discussion?
Where's the funds coming from?
Leander, this is coming from the grant, correct?
It's coming from the grant and the library's reserve fund for this project.
Okay. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella. Holt. Schmidt. Rudowitz.
Aye.
Randall. Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson. Silsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orlett. Schneider.
Motion carries. At this time, Alderman Silsby.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the hiring of 1 replacement police officer due to a retirement and the hiring of 1 new police officer for the crime-free housing. So moved.
Motion by Alderman Silsby, second by Alderman Seibert. Any discussion on this motion? Just a quick explanation. First of all, the replacement, and I want to say thank you while he's here. Lieutenant Doug Jones retired just a short number of weeks ago after 27 years, Doug?
Yes.
And I want to start off first of all by asking for everybody to join me in a round of applause. The next thing I want you to note is that not only did the Police and Fire Commissioners bring a name forward. The committees approve this, Finance and Police and Fire Committee. But there's also on here tonight the approval of the, I would say the first, but at this time, the crime-free housing ordinance officer, as the ordinance we passed states, and this will bring our department to 83. So you're hiring one replacement and one new one with this motion. Any other discussion? Yes.
Will he the crime-free housing officer be in the police department, or will he be at the housing department?
Chief, you want to answer that? The new person that you will assign when you make that determination, she wants to know, will he be in the police department or with the housing department? He's going to be like the other two.
You just want to know where we're going to get him.
No. Like, will he be working all different hours like the police department does, or will he be in housing 8 to 5?
I don't particularly know if it'll be 8 to 5 or whatever his time will be. We'll have housing hour time.
So he won't be a regular police
That could
officer?
be 7, that could be 9 or something like that. But he'll have a set amount of hours to work. It might be 24/7. We'd have to have 5 or 6 officers in there to have 24/7 presence. So we don't have those kind of numbers.
So he's more or less an officer for the housing department, not the regular police department?
He will absolutely, the crime-free housing officer is absolutely going to work in code enforcement. That's what all you folks came together for, that's what you wanted to see, and that's what we're going to make happen. That officer is going to be assigned to code enforcement.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Gabby?
Mayor, are we not going to appoint a new lieutenant?
I'll get to that in just a second. I'll explain that. Let's get through this first, let's get through this first motion. We have a motion now to replace an officer and hire a new officer. We have a motion and a second. Yes, ma'am.
You're not talking about any dates here, would you?
We're gonna hire the replacement officer immediately, and the other one's probably gonna be hired, chief, by sometime in December?
The replacement officer will be hired on the 29th. They're swearing, they already have the cap. So they'll just start right in the police department. The other officer will be hired just before the academy starts in January. They don't have the academy, but they're public safety officers. They have a district, but they'll have to go to the academy.
Which last?
The replacement that you're talking about.
I'm talking about the person who's going to be going to the academy and then be assigned to crime-free.
Oh, well,
You actually see sitting at a desk or
Oh,
doing that job.
see, that doesn't mean that we're gonna take the crime-free housing officer from already existing stock that we have. So you're asking when will we put an officer in the crime-free? What I'm hoping to do, the way we're gonna work this thing is that we can put an officer in and start working them sometime in December.
I
That's
did
the
not
goal.
get that from the city.
Well, that's getting the officer that we're gonna start on the 29th is gonna go through field training just field training status. When that officer is free, then I'm gonna move an officer into crime. But the other officer that we're talking about, the additional officer, has to go through the academy. So that's the point.
So, with those questions answered, roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella. Holt. Schmidt. Rudowitz. Randall. Anthony. Davidson. Sillsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orland. Schneider.
Motion's carried. Okay, there was a mistake, and I'm going to explain it. We always traditionally bring to the council and endorse the police and fire commissioner's advancement of rank. It's not required by law, but we always do it. His promotion is in our budget. It was passed in the two committees, and for whatever reason, it was overlooked here to put on the agenda tonight. I'd like to explain to you that we will put it back as a formality for the record at the next meeting, but the promotion goes into effect quickly here, and I've asked Tim Jones, Sergeant Tim Jones, now this is a little ironic, we have a brother replacing a brother. Now that was not by any, this is not dreamed up by the chief and I, this is because they took all the tests. He was the next on the list for the lieutenant's test. Tim, would you please stand and be recognized as our next lieutenant? we'll put it back on, as Garrett and I talked, we'll put it on there as a formality for the record to show, but it's passed all the committees. It's primarily the only requirement it has by law is to be, number one, in the budget, which it is, and number two, the police and fire commissioners, under which Russell Scott is the chairperson, has advanced and recognized this promotion. So we thank all of the officers who are here tonight to both recognize Tim's appointment, and this is very significant. This is the first time this department's ever been to 83 officers. So this is a very significant time tonight to add an officer, and we hope that we're coming back here soon with maybe a couple more additions in the not too distant future. So we thank you all very much for being here, and we look forward to the crime-free program as well. It's a good day for the police department. Alderman Schneider.
Yes, did the cops grant come through yet?
The first round of the cops grants come through, we were not selected in that. What they do is they go back, the last time we got selected was in the second round. So they go back and see who is going to actually accept the cops grant money, because there's a requirement, if you take that money, you have to fund after that grant runs out for an additional 3 years or whatever. So a lot of municipalities, people that rent for it, turn around and say, I can't afford it. And they won't accept the money and it comes back. Then they look again and make a second showing based on that. So we should still be in the running, but we wouldn't get 4 officers because the money, the pot won't be as big as it was in the future. It would be further down. But I can't guarantee that, but that's how we went out last time, so we'll just have to see how that plays out.
I guess the time frame on the second round?
They haven't even announced, because we've had a lot of this government shut down. So now things are back in place. We're starting to hear from them again. Now we're getting emails and so forth, and they just sent me one day that they've got some things up and running. And so we'll have to see what happens.
Alderman Schneider, you have another question?
I asked the same question.
Okay.
When will you think you'll hear from?
Hopefully soon, but we don't know specifically. We don't know. Okay, so I thank all the officers for being present tonight to be present to recognize their cohorts getting promotions and retirements and all the good things and hiring new people. So we thank all of you for being here. At this time, I would, yes, ma'am.
Do you think it would be fair to the public to let them know that we'll have to also replace the sergeant thing? And when we were in police and fire, testing is being done.
As soon as the sergeants have a new test, then we'll be replacing the sergeant, correct, Chief? I think that's correct. The sergeant's test ran out, the sergeant's list. So as soon as we get a new sergeant's list, Chief, just to verify for me, tell me I'm right. No. The sergeant's list ran out, so we don't have a sergeant's.
Sergeant's list expired.
So there'll be a new.
We're in the process now of going through the process, establishing another list.
Could be a month or so till we have a new list. 2 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks?
About a month. About a month.
Okay. All right?
No, I knew it because I was in police and fire, but I thought the public, it would be nice.
Very good point, duly noted. Okay, so we already took that motion, we took that motion, we passed it, we explained that we got Tim Jones promoted to lieutenant, but we'll go ahead and put it on next month for the formality of the record. Alderman White.
Yes, Your Honor, on behalf of the Planning Commission, I make a motion to approve the contract with PWM for Bell Valley 3 engineering work.
We have a motion by motion and second by Alderman White and Alderman Seibert seconded to approve the contract with TWM for Bell Valley 3 engineering work. Any discussion?
Where's this money coming from?
It's, it was stated a while ago, it's been talked about for a year in budget, et cetera. TIF 21 does not have much money, but it abuts TIF 3, and TIF 3 will have to, obviously, as the budget process explained, would have to pay for that engineering and improvements.
When TIF 21 has the money, or does it pay it back to TIF 3?
We didn't have that specified in this particular situation, and it's going to take some time for TIF 21, but if we don't get these lots going, we'll have no new businesses there.
Right, I understand that.
I think if you want to bring that back to finance next month as a consideration, we can duly note that in the future. Right now, for any time in the foreseeable future, TIF 3 would have to fund this to get this moving. And that was what was planned in the budget process last
Can
year.
I make an amendment to this, that when once DIS 21 has its appropriate amount of money, it pays it back? I'll make that motion.
So with the ladies and gentlemen who made, the two gentlemen who made the motion, would you accept that amendment to be added to it, that we, when the time comes, that it would be noted to pay it back from TIF 21 into TIF 3?
Yes, Your Honor.
Simon, okay? We have an agreement to adopt that amendment, so that's part of the motion. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella. Holt.
I have a question.
What's your question?
Even, we're moving on to phase 3 of this, even though it looks like phase 2 has openings, most of those
They
lots
don't,
are
they
already
don't.
owned.
They're already owned.
Okay, so.
They're owned. They're all bought up by existing businesses next door. They're waiting to either add on. They wanted the security of having the option to add on. To my knowledge, Eric, is there one available lot?
There's one available lot out there.
And we're getting calls more and more now
So
with.
it truly is time to start phase 3.
It's definitely time, and we firmly believe what we're doing is the right thing.
Okay.
We had 2 aye votes. It's now Alderman Holt's vote.
Aye.
Alderman Schneider, I'm sorry, you call.
Smith.
Excuse me, I cannot vote, but it will be aye.
Okay.
We'll just start fresh, just for fun. Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt. Rudowitz.
Aye.
Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Galletti.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orland. Schneider.
Aye.
That motion carried. Alderman Kinsella.
On behalf of the Economic Development and Annexation Committee, I move we approve the development agreement for St. Paul's Home related to the development of a new nursing home located at 1021 West E Street. Second.
Motion by Alderman Kinsella, second by Alderman Schmidt. Alderman Randall.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would like to read my statement if I may. I apologize for the sinus infection I'm enduring right now, but I do beg Council's indulgence. You know, in just a matter of minutes, we're going to be undertaking a vote to allocate $250,000 from TIF number 3 to a nonprofit for the purpose of demolishing existing property that St. Paul's owns. Such a move with the nonprofit is unprecedented, and the action taken this evening will have rippling consequences for this city and its taxpayers for years to come. I attended my high school graduation, reunion rather, recently, and the subject came up during the course of conversation between myself and someone I've known since childhood and grade school. During the course of our discussion, he was adamant that we should support our churches, and I do not disagree. I fervently believe people are free to pursue and practice the religion of their choice, the church of their choice, and to worship in the manner they choose. I believe members of the community are entitled to support their church and their religious beliefs without influence from government. That premise is guaranteed under the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States. On January 1st, 1802, newly elected President of the United States, Thomas Jefferson, penned a response to the Danbury Baptist Association of Connecticut when they pleaded with him to further define the meaning of the language within the First Amendment. Danbury's association feared the state of Connecticut and sought protection through Jefferson, who was the most key of framers of our Constitution. Jefferson's reply echoed remarks from Roger Williams dating back to 1644 that subsequently referred to a wall of separation exists between church and state. The Supreme Court has used such reference when interpreting the right to religion be free on numerous occasions. It is doctrine that has protected religious freedom from government and government from the influence of a singular religious sect. It is my belief a wall of separation should be maintained between nonprofits as well as tax-exempt organizations, religious or otherwise, and government at every level. Nonprofits are free from property tax, free from paying sales tax, do not generate sales tax on the services they provide. They do not, however, take a vow of poverty. St. Paul's provides a much-needed service to the community, its residents as well as their families. They do not, however, generate revenue for the city. There are some who believe that the employees of St. Paul's will spend money in the city, thereby generating the benefit of sales tax revenue to the city, as well as other communities in which they reside. When I had asked what the average salary was for an employee of St. Paul's, I was told $30,000 to $40,000. Let's take the top rate of $40,000. Multiply it by the total number of employees, which will be 75, to get a total annual salary of $3 million. I think we can all agree these employees will have other expenses and obligations they need to meet. Things such as federal, state, and local taxes, house payments or rent, car, truck, or other transportation expenses, and so on. Therefore, we can't expect them to exhaust all their pay to generate enough sales tax revenue to come even close to $250,000 from TIF 3 that is requested for demolition. If you take the $250,000 and divide it by the combined local tax, the city gets back 1%, and the home rule sales tax of 0.75%, it would take $14,285,714.28 in sales to generate that $250,000 in sales tax revenue back to the city. When you factor inflation, it's hard to imagine the city ever recouping this gift. I've heard others describe that redevelopment at St. Paul's will raise the value of the neighborhood and hopefully spur more development. I believe such statements hold a double-edged sword for the people who live in the area. A neighborhood described as depressed and its residents as poor. I find it ironic that the same people who have been paying taxes into TIF number 3 will now see their tax dollars given to a nonprofit to redevelop its properties while the assessed valuations of the homes around it are increased as a result of such improvement, causing those homeowners to then pay higher taxes on their properties. If that were to happen and I lived there, I'd have to ask myself and my alderwoman, how has my home been improved? Did I get a new bath, a new kitchen, my exterior redone, a new roof, the street in front of my home and the alley behind it resurfaced? No, it's my wallet that's been altered. I continue to ask myself whether we want to establish a precedent that lends itself to the bias of the members that make up an elected council at any given time. What will the criteria be for the next application? Will $29.5 million be the new threshold? Are 5 new jobs in 5 years in operation standard? Is $250,000 the top end for the TIF amount? What happens when TIF goes away and our streets and other infrastructure have sat on hold while we fund nonprofit? Who will be next in line? Will it be our churches, the Jewish Federation of Southern Illinois, the Salvation Army, Project Compassion NFP, and the Goodwill Industries International? Perhaps it will be a fraternal organization such as DMLA, the Elks, and then the Moose Lodges. What about the various youth organizations, Scouting, Corey League, and the Belleville Boys Football Club, and so many others? It might be the Senior Citizens Club or the Oxford House, maybe the Southside Improvement Association. It opens the door to application from the Realtors Association of Southwestern Illinois, the Laborers International Union, and let us not forget the St. Clair County Bar Association. Perhaps the most challenging of all will be the application from the Reverend Larry Rice and the New Life Evangelistic Center seeking funding for a homeless shelter we all agree is needed, and yet no one seems to want located in their neighborhood. I understand how easy it can be to become entrenched in your own beliefs when you are passionate about the cause that you support. With so much subjectivity in the process as it exists, let us not complicate it by taking the unprecedented step of opening the TIF door to nonprofits. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Who's next, Ava? Yes, ma'am.
I also have some questions about the part-time jobs. I have 2 very good friends who work part-time at the home, and so I asked them, do you have the $30,000 part-time job or the $40,000 part-time job? They laughed hysterically and said, combined, our salaries aren't even close to half of that. I noticed that the agreement has no dollar amount for these alleged salaries. I also echo everything Alderman said. As much as I think St. Paul's is a good neighbor, as much as I think this is a wonderful project for them and will benefit the city, the door we're opening here, giving money to a nonprofit, is one we should not.
Okay, first of all, Alderman Schneider.
I have to agree, and what the Alderman said and read, excuse me, I have to agree 100%, and I want to thank him for taking the time to do the research that he did. Because I was under the impression, I didn't even think to go that far. I just brought out clippings out of advertising things. So whether we do it or not, give them the blessing to tear down this building and give them the money, they're gonna do it anyway, because they're already advertising with pictures and everything. So, or is it that the city council, some have agreed and the rest is supposed to agree? I mean, they're advertising and we haven't even passed it yet. So, and a homeless shelter. I mean, he is very right. They're going to be coming at us with hands open all the way.
Alderman Hayden.
Yes, yeah, thank you. I compliment Mr. Randall on his detailed statement. We're setting a very dangerous precedent this evening. I support St. Paul's. I think they're a great organization, but we're setting, and I wish them success, but we're setting a very dangerous precedent this evening by our actions. One of the questions I would like to ask if they have representatives here is, when they first came and spoke to us, there was nothing ever mentioned about the need of TIF money. Why wasn't that brought up?
That's not true, Alderman Hayden. We've been talking for many, many, many months, and as you heard them, those who were in the committee meeting, the last committee meeting, they needed this last piece of the package to satisfy their lenders to make this project work. Yes, they're trying to move forward and they're trying to be very positive, but this
last few months, they were here over what at least 3-4 months ago when we talked about the plumber's building that we were tearing down, that they had their schematics and everything that they showed us. There was never at that point in time anything.
I think they were truly trying to get it done.
Why didn't they tell us?
They have told staff and I.
Then why didn't you tell us?
Well, because we hadn't moved along that far yet. Until it's a step-by-step process. And nobody's hiding anything. They've been very honest with it. We worked very hard to keep St. Paul's in Belleville.
I'm not
and
saying
I think it would be sad after almost 90 years to see them leave the city. We believe me, staff and I had many, many meetings with them and talked with their consultants, etc., about why we felt they needed to stay in Belleville and what that would do to the neighborhood.
Can you tell me, Your Honor, again, if they communicated it to you, you didn't communicate it to us, so I can't blame them for that.
Well, it's been communicated.
I read first in the newspaper, sir.
Well,
you know, can you tell me what you mean by that they are courageous to stay here?
yeah, I think to anybody who takes on a $30 million project, just coming off this recession and continuing the ministry that they do of the aged in a community that, in a neighborhood that has changed drastically over the years. They've seen a lot of changes in their neighborhood, and I think it is very courageous for them to make that kind of a commitment. Likewise, I feel the same way for the next item on the agenda with Cathedral. It was also, and there was a time that was going to be a non-for-profit, and changed as the process evolved. And you know, I think Father Weiler would agree with me. That was originally, when he came to me, was going to be a non-for-profit program as well. And we listened, and we tried to nurture it, and we tried to be honest with them, and I think I told them very clearly that it's very difficult. Now, one thing I will say, to set the record straight, nobody's ever asked me, but this has been done before. We did a not-for-profit deal with the YMCA across the street. This city council did that to keep the YMCA in Belleville. That was the thing. We do with schools all the time. We work with the schools, the public schools as non-for-profits with TIF. So this is not new uncharted courses. We've done it, and nobody asked me that question, and the media didn't ask me. And when I read the article, no offense, but and Jacqueline and I talked a lot, but the YMCA is a prime example of a partnership. I don't have it here in front of me, but Eric, we got a file on what we did with the Y, correct? That was a situation that Mayor Kern, that deal was he was still mayor, but that was voted on by the city council. And I voted proudly to approve that, because we didn't want the Y to leave downtown. And so, yes.
Is there anything in the responsibilities of St. Paul that are different than before the initial proposal?
Eric, do you know that?
They're not, it was all, and Gary probably speaking to this a little better directly about the legal language.
There were some proposed changes from St. Paul's attorney that I reviewed with Eric on Friday, and I had some conversation with St. Paul's attorney, but it was essentially clarification. It's still the same deal that was negotiated with staff.
So is this the final copy that you were talking about on Friday? This was an package before?
No, there was a red line version that had been emailed, but it was, again, I would call it legalese. There were some changes made. That was emailed. It was some proposed revisions that came from St. Paul, I believe on Thursday. Eric and I spoke on Friday, and we spoke about it on Friday, and then he disseminated it by email. They weren't substantive changes. They were more clarification that the requirements remain to be 5 years.
Something like this subject to open meetings, and is it subject to the amount of time that's advertised?
No, it's actually the agenda requirement has been met. All you need to have is the general subject matter of the action.
Alderman Schmidt.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm Alderman in Ward 2 and actually live near the St. Paul's home. And yeah, my taxes, if they go up a tiny amount, you know, I don't think that's gonna hurt me, and I don't think the people that I've talked to in the neighborhood that are thrilled that they're staying there, and they're happy to see the city taking interest in this neighborhood. That we're getting some streets repaired, and that, they're making, $250,000 would buy a lot of the blocks in that neighborhood and have some change left over. So it's a lot of money. To see the city put that in is very uplifting to a lot of the owner-occupied. Now, the only person I heard negative from was a landlord that doesn't live there. But the people that live there like it. We see that there is more of a police presence, that the neighborhood is better today than it was, say 3 years ago. And I think there's a lot of things that the St. Paul home brings to the city. People that come and visit will spend money. The people that live there are not captives in their home, they will spend money. This is a good thing, and we almost lost them to, was it Shiloh or Swansea?
They were looking at other sites,
they all
had
wanted
to.
it. And, honestly, I think for $250,000, we're getting a very good deal. They are a very good neighbor, and we want to keep them there. That property, the Brewery property, is horrible, and has been. It's better today, and the more they tackle that property and fix it up, the better it is for everybody, not just, my ward, but the whole city. And that's why I hope that you would all join me in an aye vote to approve this agreement, which is a very good one. I think the mayor and economic development should be applauded for the work they did in keeping St. Paul's.
Alderman Schneider.
How much more are they gonna come and ask for? And we've already did some tip money to help them out by tearing down the 2 houses for Midwest Plumbing and Earth Plumbing. Pardon?
That development agreement was with Midwest Plumbing.
No, you made,
I made the comment, don't misquote me, Alderman Schneider, I made the comment that in our early conversations, it was noted by the St. Paul's board members that I dealt with that they noticed the entranceway coming in off of 17th Street, and that property, and so did Mr. Terschlutz admitted, looked like a dump before he took ownership. And they did point that out to me, but we didn't, that St. Paul's home didn't get that benefit. Mr. Terschlutz's investment and what he did there is tremendous. Now, did that help them make a decision when that entranceway got cleaned up? I'm sure it did. But don't misconstrue, that was not money, that was not part of a development deal that said, we have to tear those houses down for Mr. Terschlutz or they're not gonna stay. You're confusing that.
okay, how much more money are they gonna ask for after this? Will they keep coming back and ask for money? And as I said, here, I would like to enter this in. They're already gonna do it whether we tear down the building or not. Here's the ad already.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve this. You have a choice to vote yes or no. And then we'll take a break, we'll take a recess then, okay? We have a choice to vote yes or no. I think we've heard ample stuff in committees and on this floor tonight, and you certainly can do that. But, as many have stated, they believe it's a positive thing for the neighborhood and for the community, and I votes to approve this. Understand the incentive is not granted to them. It's after they tear the buildings down, we pay them back, and they anticipate that won't be until 2015. So this isn't even for the budget this next year, we just have to commit it in 2015, okay? So we have a motion and we have a second. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
No.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Rudowitz.
Aye.
Randall.
No.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Sillsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
No.
Seibert.
Aye.
White.
No.
Galletti. Musgrove.
Aye.
Orland.
Aye.
Schneider.
No.
I count 9, right?
10-6.
10-6, okay. Motion carries. Okay, let's take a 5-minute break. I think I myself might need one. And then we'll remain here. We'll take up an item G in just a moment, okay? Oh, and I'm sorry. We'll take up the item. We had an emergency break.
Yeah, he was on.
Could have said 8:30. Or later. We had a couple of engineers and utilities today. Yeah, it's good news. They could reroute what's going to the Congress Center without much trouble. So it was the best news thing. And 11, 15 days, we could be ready, well, 12, 20. I mean, this one. Okay. Oh, I think that's part of the fill or whatever. Democracy of work. Separation. How are you? How you doing? Good, good. Ours
No, we'll make sure it's that's pretty good.
All right.
Yeah, you did. So we have to plan. We won't be able to do it's basically I called down there, I went to Chicago, and they said, it's all right.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Father Myler. I wanted to say hello. It's been a long time. I wasn't sure if you would remember me. Yes, sir. Yeah. So, Father, I remember when you were ordained, I used to go around and serve mass and serve weddings with you.
Here we go.
$5 for a wedding, and you always took us out to dinner afterwards. That was wonderful. That was the best job I ever had. I got to do that. Doing very well, very well.
You have a large number of siblings.
I do. Everybody's in the area. Oh, absolutely. Yes, we have to worry about John. No, John is actually right in the middle of number 6. Yeah, Timmy, Tim was a year older. And he was a couple years after John, everybody was Alton's actually double last two. Took 11 kids and the house to another. Oh yeah. That's why I laughed. They're all complaining about not having enough room. I said, I never had this kind of room. But I wanted to say hello to you. I remember those days. Now I've got twin girls here in the 6th grade. I actually coached a basketball team.
That's what I said. Panic that it's what's his name? I thought that was just so fitting here. Everybody remembers.
It was never brought up. Well, most of it was built.
I asked my son, do you know every morning? I said, I'm sure it's
Now on election days, all we do is just keep money from the cards. Just before. Last month, I probably good things for not
Pleasure to see you. Thank you very much. I will.
Have a seat, I can see what we're missing, so we can start as soon as possible. One or two, but Cypress here, Heisler's coming in. What's that? I don't know. I have to ask Kenny. I'll have to send me a note. I'll ask the staff meeting. Yes, just send me. I'll ask. The next staff meeting I have a few days down the road or something.
you know these guys.
Right now. Okay. We're going to reconvene this meeting. I thank you for everyone's cooperation. We left off on page 3 of the agenda, economic development, Alderman Consilla's chairmanship, and Alderman Consilla, I'd go to the second motion.
I move we approve the development agreement for the cottages at Cathedral Square related to the development of a new senior living community located at 100 West Harrison Street.
Second. Your Honor.
Motion by Alderman Consilla, second by, in the ward of Alderman Seibert. Well, actually not the same one. Well, he made the second, but
That's all right.
it's okay, it's okay. It was his forever, I just kind of old train of thought. We have a motion and we have a second to approve the request here for the a development agreement for the cottages at Cathedral. Discussion. Alderman Hayden.
Yes, as Alderman of the ward, I support this project, Mr. Chairman. The difference between the first and the second is that this is going to be for profit. It will be on the tax roll. It will bring money into the very system that it is, being funded for. So I support it. Look forward to it.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
A lot of times when we enter into these, well, with a business, sometimes there's an employee quota. I know there's nothing at all like that. Is it gonna be an on-site manager?
There's going to be 2 on-site managers, Father has explained, Monsignor's explained to us. Okay? We have a motion and we have a second. Roll call.
Heisler. Kinsella. Holt. Schmidt.
Aye.
Rudowitz. Randall. Anthony. Davidson. Silsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orland. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. Gentlemen, here's a, thank you. Motion to approve the renaming of Goss Park to Joseph Goss Park per the recommendation of the Parks Board, October 9, 2013, and the family member Jane Goss Board.
So moved, Your Honor.
Motion by Alderman Schmidt, do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Seibert, do I hear any discussion? Roll call.
Heisler. Kinsella. Holt. Schmidt. Rudowitz. Randall. Anthony. Davidson. Silsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orland. Schneider.
Motion carries. Communications.
A communication from St. Clair County Historical Society requesting permission to host its 20th annual Candlelight House Tour on Sunday, December 8th, 2013, from approximately 2 to 6 p.m.
Move the request be granted.
Motion by Alderman Seibert, second by Alderman Silsby. Do I hear a discussion about their request? All in favor of this motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
The communication from Juanita Place Neighborhood Association requesting to have their neighborhood fall gathering at Juanita Place in Washington Street on Sunday, October 27, 2013, from 4 to 7 p.m.
Do I hear a motion? Motion by Alderman Arlett, second Alderman Musgrove. Discussion. All in favor of approving this communication signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Petitions none, resolutions none. I'd ask for a motion to read ordinance number 7721 by title only. Motion by Alderman Silsby, second by Alderman Schmidt. Any discussion? All in favor of reading by title only signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Ordinance number 7721, a zoning ordinance, regarding case number 46, September 13th, Victoria Beaver.
Motion to approve by Alderman Silsby. Who is the second? Second by Alderman Anthony. Any discussion? Roll call.
Heisler. Kinsella. Holt. Schmidt. Rudowitz. Randall. Anthony. Davidson. Silsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orland. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. Unfinished business. I'd ask for a motion to read by title only. Ordinance number 7712. Motion by Alderman Silsby, second by Alderman Galletti. Any discussion? Roll call. Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor of reading by title only, ordinance number 7712, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Ordinance number 7712, an ordinance amending Chapter 3, City Administration of the Revised Code of Ordinances of Belleville, Illinois, as amended by amending portions of sections thereof.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Alderman Silsby, second by Alderman Seibert. Any discussion?
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
Can you explain to me under section, collector 3.115, B, appointment, collector shall be appointed by the mayor, city council. Then under D, supervision, the collector shall be under the supervision of the city treasurer.
For years, that position was always under the supervision of both the treasurer and the clerk. For years, it was only just the clerk. It's been this way. I would suggest someday, and we kind of talked that when this particular employee may not be here in the future someday, I think it should be revisited. But for now, this is the way it's been set up. It's collectively been appointed by the mayor, going back to Charles Nichols, I believe. And so we just didn't, we run it down, deal with the immediate needs, not disagreeing that when we go back and recodify, further adjustments might need to be made.
This on your personnel committee's
Well, it's down the road someplace, but, you know, right now, it's a much better improvement, and these gentlemen have all signed off, right, Mr. Schneider? Everybody seems happy. So, okay, we have a motion, we have a second to revise this ordinance. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella. Holt. Schmidt. Rudowitz. Randall. Anthony. Davidson. Sillsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orland. Schneider.
Motion carries. Is there any miscellaneous or new business? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. We've talked over the years about how we arrive at a budget and who's invited to what, and I just kind of would like to hear what you see as the process and when you see it starting.
Jamie, can I beg of you maybe to kind of reiterate what we've done in the past and what you plan to do this year?
Okay, the budget process is actually for me a year-round event, but we start looking at the new budget come mid-November. Packets go out to department heads fill out their packets, turn in their requests to my office. I start making revenue estimates based on 6 months of data for this year and projections for next year. We see where the numbers lie, then we start calling in the department heads to see where items can be cut. Any explanations are given for any new items they have in their budget and so forth. We sit down with the mayor several times with the department heads and myself to see where cuts can be made or where changes are made. Along the lines for TIF projects are submitted from department heads. They're compiled with where my estimates lie with TIF revenues, and we see what projects, if any, need to be added or taken off. It starts coming to committee, usually if everything goes well and I can get drafts done. We start showing drafts in January, the latest by February, but ever from day one that a draft is out or even before, my office is open to suggestions, any meetings with aldermen to talk about any items they'd like to see in the budget or any issues with the budget, or if you just want to come to my office and have a little synopsis explanation of the budget and understanding of it, because it is quite difficult. It's just a lot of lines and numbers. But we go from there, and usually by March, we have to have kind of a substantive draft that is not really set in stone yet, but pretty much set, that it's laid out for the public to review, have public hearings in April. It's passed then, and it has to be passed before the end of April to go to effect May 4th.
Okay, so nowhere in there did I hear council, which actually sets policy, is consulted on what their priorities are. I heard you can come and sit in.
No, we
I did
asked,
not
you
hear.
will get a draft,
Let's
and you will ask for your recommendations or comments.
But it's already put together in some
Well,
form.
but on the whole, we have professionals who work with the programs that you outline, things that you voted on that you want done. Many of them carry over from year to year. They're in place. Much of this, you know, with the police department and fire department, and many of them, you know, but you have input. You have input on economic development. You have input on roads. You can certainly submit. It's not uncommon that you're asked to submit concerns in your ward that you'd like to see considered for the budget.
But that's not the council as a whole, city as a group, and
Ma'am,
saying.
we have not done that.
Sir, would I please have the floor until I'm finished? I know we haven't done that. I believe that is actually the correct way to do it. At what point are we ever going to get a pool if this group never decides, yes, that is our priority? At what point are we ever going to quit buying empty buildings if this group doesn't say, no, we want the TIF money used to fix sidewalks and streets? there is not a consensus reached if we're just coming in piecemeal. I recognize we have an Open Meetings Act issue, but that does not preclude us from having a budget workshop that is notified to the public who may attend. And if we choose not to have public participation in that, that would certainly be an economical way to run it. But at no point in there do we get a voice. That is frustrating, and that is not the way to do it.
I disagree, you do get a voice. You get a voice as much as you want to have.
When I get to see this little picture from this department head, but in nowhere does the council sit down and say, here's how we're dividing the pie.
You have the opportunity from here on to attend any committee meeting and discuss with any
Exactly,
department
when am I
heads.
going to get notified that these meetings happen? If I don't even know what's happening in my ward on the traffic committee, how am I going to know when a department head is coming in to discuss? I mean, those are internal
Well,
meetings.
I think Jamie has been always very upfront about taking anyone's input and sitting down or, you know.
I can't ask questions about a program I don't even know exists. And to throw
Well, when
out a
you get the-
90-page document and say, hey, what are your questions?
Well, when you get the draft, you have weeks to look at it, weeks to go through it, to ask any questions you want, and that's the appropriate time.
And when that draft is dispensed in January or early February, that is by no means even remotely final. There are changes made up on that up until it is passed in April. So just because we have a draft in form does not mean that the council at committee meeting can say, you know what, we don't want this road project done. We would rather put that money towards a swimming pool or this or that. That is what those meetings are about, open discussion on the budget. I have always been very open to emails, phone calls, come by my office. I will walk you every line through the budget if you want me to. I'm more than happy to do it.
But it doesn't matter if one individual doing it, if the other 15 don't hear it.
Well, then you can ask those questions at committee where the members are all welcome to come.
And what I started to say before Alderman Holt, many years ago, the council, before we had finance directors and HR directors, and a lot of the directors and staff that we have today, when staff was a lot smaller, and we didn't have a professional CPA who has an MBA putting together our budget, the aldermanic committees did sit down and go through a lot more. But the council budget was smaller, the number of departments were less, things weren't as complex, and now we have professionals that we hire and we trust. You know, there's no, these department heads in this room, nobody knows their budgets and what goes into them and what they really need or don't need to run the departments better than them. But you still get the input to meet with them about projects, etc.
Okay, but obviously, I would hope every department head believes in what they're doing and the projects they're putting forth, and everyone wants as much as they can get for their department. But they're limited vision to just their department. It is ours to look at the big picture of, yeah, those ideas sound great, and we agree with you, but we're not going to do that part this year. We think this other area deserves more.
And you certainly will have opportunities to question that and to make those votes, as you have every year in this budget process.
Well, I think it's no secret I've been frustrated every year.
Well,
Let me ask one more question. When I was at conference this weekend, one thing I did hear as kind of a going thing is to change fiscal years to calendar years. Do you have an opinion on that?
No fear.
Okay,
That would
because
say I guess, give me an argument for it, because there'd be just way too many complications to do it, and I don't see a benefit to doing it.
Okay.
And first of all, every union contract would have to be in sync, and we have 9 unions. It would be a nightmare.
It would be a payroll nightmare.
It would be a payroll. It would be a payroll nightmare. I mean, they'd have to show me some real savings of why, and I don't know what that would be, to make such a change. We've talked about this before. To make such a drastic change just because some people can wrap their mind better around January 1 to December 31st. It's been, this fiscal year has been this way for as long as I can remember, and to make the change that doesn't save us anything.
no, I'm just asking a question.
Yeah, we got so, even as a city, we got so many obligations and things that we got to do at the end of the year
Yep.
to get done, that to add that to the process would be.
Mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Anything else? Yes,
Oh, okay, I guess it's, I don't know if this is your business or not. I read the paper the other day that you were nominated to be head of the mayor's conference.
no, that's, hold on. No, next year I should be the president of the Southwestern Council of Mayors. I'm vice president this year, but I did just get officially voted into the IML. That did happen Saturday. That was a nice honor. So I did work. It was unanimous. So it was a very nice weekend. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I have it's just comments. Our executive sessions in all committee meetings, we are supposed to review them in 6 months. I brought this up in police and fire, and I would like to see it brought up to the attention of all the committee meetings that have gone into executive session, because it is in the Open Meetings Act. I read it to you then, and I would like to see some process of getting this started. It's been 2.5 years that we've been in Alderman, and none of the committee meetings have been reviewed, the executive session meetings. And then the other thing is just a comment. I know you appoint the chairmen of the committees, which that is duly your right, but this would be just a little nice thing to make it look nice in the city of Belleville. You have no women as a chairman for any of the.
I have had in the past. I have had in the past.
You haven't in the 2.5 years.
That's not true. Dorothy Meyer was up until, Dorothy Meyer was the chairman of economic development.
Okay,
up
right
until-
now, there are no.
Well, I don't deny that as of, it is not to say that there won't be in the future.
I mean, I think it would look, we're always saying equal
I duly note your
opportunity and.
consideration. I duly note it, but I'd have to say, next April 30th, I'll take a look at that request. But like I said, I've had women before, and more than just one. Okay. If there's nothing else, we have a motor fuel claim in the amount of $12,541.54. What's your pleasure? Motion by Alderman Seibert, second by Alderman White. Do we have any discussion on motor fuel claims? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz.
Aye.
Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson. Silsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orlett. Schneider.
Aye.
That motion carries. We have no reason tonight. We're not up to date on some things on executive session. Probably next meeting we'll have some information.
Motion adjourned.
Motion to adjourn by Alderman Hayden, second by Alderman Schmidt. All in favor, signify. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Have a good evening. Thank
Right back to
He didn't know exactly.